Hey everyone, and welcome to my video on Gran Turismo Sport. This is me returning back to the game. I haven't played it for a while due to a lot of work commitments and home commitments, but I'm looking to get back in the game now. So this is the first race of 3, and just see how it goes really. I would like people's opinions so I can try and make better videos for other people to watch, and hopefully we can all try and learn something together, as well as hopefully you'll be able to see me progress into the game as it goes on. So we're coming up to turn 2 now. The cart goes up the inside. I left it a little bit wide. I made the mistake myself, so I left the door open and he dived up the inside. So going into this turn, you can see that the car ahead of me has got a penalty, and you just see the Megane ahead as well just getting a penalty. And obviously I didn't have a very good run out of that corner due to the Megane that just flew past me. So my plan at this point is just to follow close behind, try and avoid any contact, try to keep my nose clean, so I can try and capitalise at the bottom of the mountain where they try and serve their penalty. So I got a Mercedes behind me following. I kept him in my rear, tried to anticipate when he was going to make a dive bomb, but he kept it clean, stayed behind, which I presume he was going to draft me down Conrad. I'm looking ahead now, seeing that the 2 cars of the penalty is just starting to serve him. So the Megane slightly coming across to the left, so I moved over, just dipping a wheel in the grass, but managed to keep hold of it. So coming down to the heavy braking zone, and the Mercedes stayed behind me, still keeping it clean. Again, I was expecting him to dive bomb me. Relieved that he didn't. I just kept my head down, kept moving forward, and kept my eyes on the car that's ahead. Trying to keep myself clean, trying to hit my marks, hit my braking points, hit my turning points, and then just trying to get back on the accelerator as soon as possible, so I can try and get a bit of distance between me and the Mercedes behind, which across the start finish line looks like what I've done. So just keeping my head down, keep looking at the car ahead, now concentrating on my next braking point and my next turning point. So trying to take it one corner at a time, trying to concentrate on making sure I take the corners rather than make mistakes and allow the car behind me to catch up, so I have to defend rather than trying to catch up to the car ahead. So as you see in the background then, the Mercedes went a little bit wide, just touched the wall, and has allowed the Megane to go around him. The Megane has a penalty, so it might have been a bit of contact, but again, just head down, focused, keep my foot down, and just try and get around the top part of the mountain as best possible. Now this bit, I got a penalty. I didn't realise that I had a penalty until I got to this point, and I watched the video back, and that's when I actually saw, because I raced this view, and to me it looks like I was on the track. I didn't come off the track at all, but obviously through the previous one you can see I was clearly off track. So knowing that I had a penalty, I was a little bit frustrated, and I was determined I needed to make my last corner a good one, and got on the accelerator too early and tagged the wall, and that just wiped all my momentum out. So then I had a bad exit on the corner and compromised with the penalty, which allowed everyone else to catch up with me. So I go from 5th to 6th, and I continue losing a few more places. So even with this happening, I just focus, stay calm, and hit my marks, and try and stay as close to the cars ahead, so hopefully I can try and capitalize on either their mistakes, or I can get a good run out of a corner and take them on the straights. So going back over the start finish line, McGann's ahead, but not far ahead at all, so I'm still in the slipstream, and my focus then was to get a good exit out of this corner and try and catch him on the straight. But in the back you can see that there's a McGann right behind me that's closer to me than what I am to the cars ahead, and he's in my slipstream, so I had that concern in my head while watching mirrors as I was coming up the straight. So I was expecting a dive bomb in this corner, but instead he made a mistake, hit the wall, and that gave me a bit of breathing room so I can focus on what I'm doing. But as I come around this corner, I get it wrong, put it in a bit of a slide, kept hold of it, but it still killed my momentum and compromised what I wanted to do to try and catch cars ahead. So as we're coming across the top of the mountain, I just determined I need to try and get this as clean as possible, no more tagging walls. But then as I come around here, I didn't get in tight enough, so I ended up a little bit wide, but kept control of the car, and then kept control in the braking zone to then come down the mountain and get back on the bumper of the McGann ahead. So coming down the mountain, I misanticipated how slow the car was going ahead and nearly tagged him in the back, so I stayed on the brake a little bit longer than I wanted to, which allowed him to pull away from me on the straight and kept me out of the draft. But the McGann behind is closing in, and checking my mirrors, I was afraid that he was going to be a potential threat near the end of this race. But as I was coming round, the number 6 car had it wrong coming out of that corner, which compromised him. So the yellow McGann ahead goes up the inside, tags him, slows them both down, and then allows me to catch him on the start straight and then end up with a very, very close finish, but ultimately my victory. So moving on to race 2. After the mistakes I made in race 1, I mainly just wanted to try and keep the race clean, make as little mistakes as possible. I weren't going particularly quick, even though I do qualify second for this race. I wasn't as quick as some of the other cars that were around me, but my focus was I need to stay on the track and avoid coming into the grass, avoid my mistakes. As I'm returning, my game plan is literally try and stay smooth, straight, stay consistent, and most importantly, keep mistakes to a minimum. So coming up to turn 2, the McGann is on the inside, so I let him go and just concentrate on keeping it clean again, and hopefully get a run on him when it comes near the top of the mountain and stay close. But I get a bit of pressure from the green McGann that's directly behind me, but I got a better exit out of the corner and pulled a little bit of a gap on him. So now I'm trying to catch the car ahead by trying to be as smooth as possible from the top of the mountain, but try and carry over as much momentum as possible, ready for the downward descent. So I hit my braking point and I start closing in up on the car ahead. But I find this area really tricky, because if the car in front of me is really slow, in comparison to how I descend the mountain, it just knocks me out of rhythm. So I go for hopefully a good exit out of this corner to try and stay close and try and stay in the slipstream so he doesn't pull away from me. But as it goes, I did mess up the last corner, and as you can see now, he pulled quite a healthy lead ahead and I'm way out of the slipstream. So as we come round, I end up braking too late. I completely mess up this corner, which was definitely not what I wanted to do. But as I start straightening up, green McCann comes past. He's messed up corner as well, and I lose 2 positions. But I fight back on one of them and manage to hold it. But we pretty much running side by side, coming up to the next corner. And this I put down to a bit of miscommunication. I try to stay in on the inside as much as possible, but the orange McGann, if you can call it orange, he had better momentum going through the corner than what I did, and he assumed that I would have overshot the corner going to the right, but obviously I didn't. I stayed hugged into the corner, and yeah, just a bit of miscommunication. I wouldn't call it intentional, but still got a bump and mistakes happen. So as we come in back up the mountain now, I try and stay as close as possible to him because I want to try and take the fight back to him. And the top of the mountain is just no way to like comfortably overtake someone, especially when I'm returning to a game that I haven't played for so long. So my plan was just to try and stay as close as possible to him, hope he makes a mistake, or if I'm close enough all the way at the bottom, to try and get a good exit out of the last corner and stay in the slipstream so he can pull me across the straight and try and take him in the last few corners. So as you can see, I'm staying as close as possible. Done my best to stay composed on the last corner and tried my best to try and stay as close to him as I could. But those McGanns, man, they are so fast on the straight. So I couldn't keep up with him, but I presume there was a penalty for the green McGann on the left, and he just served it because he's just slow for no reason at all. And hoping I wouldn't make the mistake again, I braked a little bit earlier and it brought me right on the bumper. But again, look at him, those cars are so quick on this track. But I ain't giving up. Trying to get good exits, trying not to take too much speed into the corners, but just really focus on trying to nail these exits. So coming back around turn 1, he had a little bit wrong, I also had a little bit wrong, and you can see that the green McGann is back right on my bumper, so I'm aware of that in my mirror, and it being the last lap, I was fully expecting to dive bomb into turn 1, but I managed to get myself back in the slipstream with the McGann ahead, and it seemed to have pulled me away from the McGann behind a little bit. So I got a little bit more breathing space, so I was focused on trying to stay on the bumper of the McGann ahead and try my best to really not make mistakes and stay as smooth as possible. Completely zoned in on the car ahead, but instead of what I usually do and stay focused on the car, I give myself a wider view and paid more attention to the track, but then paying a little bit of attention to the car ahead so I don't hit it as well. So coming back down the mountain, all I wanted to do is just keep a healthy distance, so if he makes a mistake then I can capitalize on it, and also if I make a mistake I don't go into the back of it. So I did my best to try and get on the accelerator early out of the last corner to try and get a good drive out of the corner. I don't know what was happening with McGann then. I think he lack of concentration, he might have been looking at his phone or something, but that him going into the grass has really helped, as you can see as I'm closing up onto him a lot. Hit my braking point, bring it around, and I'm now right on his bumper ready for the last corner. So as we come in round, there's no cars behind me, I am dead focused on the car ahead. I brake a little bit early, focus on getting a good drive out of the corner, and like race 1, this is a very close finish, but I didn't win. He had it this time, but it was, again, two races back to back, very close to each other. So going into race number 3, as you can see, I qualified 5th for the race. So there's a couple of faster guys. Again, my game plan was try and minimize my mistakes and just try and keep my position. If I progress, I progress. I just don't want to lose positions, or my mistakes cause me to lose positions. If I lose positions because of bad drivers, that's something else. But coming up to turn 2, everything is nice and calm. I got a healthy distance between me and the car behind, but I am a little bit behind with the cars in front. But concentrating, trying to get it all closer. Again, trying to be as smooth as possible. The cars ahead have a little bit of a battle, bit of bumping. So I was thinking, right, this is going to be interesting if I can get right up on them. And they bump each other. They might bump each other off a track or into a wall, and then hopefully I can drive through. But unlucky for me, it didn't quite turn out that way. So they started behaving, and as we were going down the mountain, I seemed to like really build up a lot of momentum coming down in comparison to a lot of other drivers. But and I just come on the brake a little bit more then, afraid that I'm going to hit the cars ahead. So I got a good exit out of the corner, but all 3 of these cars ahead are drafting each other, and their cars are faster than my car, so I didn't have a chance catching them. So I'm in no man's land, bit of distance behind me, so I can just focus on racing my race and not panic about behind or ahead. But once again, I make a mistake, which brings the car behind right on me. As the car comes round to the right, I concede my mistake and give up my position, allow him to try and get a better run out of the corner, but he messed up his corner and allowed me to get past again. Expecting something similar. I was expecting him to go back up the inside because he messed up the last corner. I can understand the frustration, but he kept it clean, stayed on my bumper as we go back up the first straight again. Now, knowing he is there, I was very concerned, expecting him to just dive bomb up the inside, but he had a better run. He was alongside me for the corner, so I conceded the corner, but came back best I could, hoping to get a good run on him through the next series of corners. But I misanticipated when he was going to brake, so I ended up a lot closer to him in the braking zone that I would have liked, so I had to brake a bit more, and that sort of spoilt my chances of getting a run out of him in the corner. So I just wanted to try and stay as close as possible to him, to see if I can capitalize on any of his mistakes, knowing that he's made mistakes in the previous lap, so he can make mistakes. Trying my best to keep it as clean as possible, trying my best not to hit him, which is one thing I'm more important about trying to avoid. Try to get a good run out of the corner, but I just caught the wall, and that killed my actual run up to him. So I just pretty much stayed behind him, tried to stay in his draft, and just tried to stay as close as possible. And my focus now was, I need to nail this last corner instead of making the mistakes I keep making in this last corner. So I get a good run right up to him on the brakes, but again I messed up the corner. I ended up braking for a second time, so I came off the brakes and had to go back on the brakes because I came in with too much momentum, which allowed him to pull away from me again. Coming back to turn 1, he slowed down way more than what I expected, so I chucked it up the inside and tried to hug it in as much as possible. And because of that mistake, I lost all momentum before the corner. If I was to drift out wide, I would have felt really bad, like I would have proper pushed him off the track. So I tried my best to stay in as tight as possible and yeah, kill my momentum. He went back past, and again, back to where we were the lap before. I'm following up a mountain. So my focus now was same as before. I gotta stay as close as I can. I know he makes mistakes, so keep a pressure on and hopefully I can push him into a mistake. But as you can see, he's starting to pull away from me. He's had better runs out of corners, and I've compromised myself by some of my lines, and I make a big mistake here. I hit the brake. I don't know what I was thinking there, but I just didn't go around very well. I just didn't turn the steering wheel enough. I was on the brakes too much, so I lost traction. It was completely my fault, and it's given me a 0.5 second penalty, which just put me back on the back foot then. I knew I weren't going to catch him, so I just didn't want to make any more mistakes, which would allow someone else to catch up to me, serve my penalty, and just prepared for the end of the race. Now for this last bit, for some reason my recording's messed up, so I've gone back to cab view, and the way I've recorded this ends quite abruptly. So I line myself up for the last corner, get it around and aim for the line. And that's the end of my 3 races. Thanks everyone for watching. Any advice or any criticism will be taken on board. Again, I want to try and make these as entertaining as possible, so any information you can give to help, I will appreciate, and I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you again for watching, and bye.